So the live stream will be ready in just a second.
Oh, okay, I'll start talking. I don't have to go live. So yeah, welcome everybody. My name's Jamie Van Haften, and I don't know what do I introduce myself? I'm a retired librarian. You might recognize me from the Sarah Walker and I are on the Historic Sites Board as well, so I'm on that. Yeah, and I love this committee. There's so much to do. I'm constantly nagging Virginia. Why are we setting up a committee to do this? Okay.
Jamie, you're also the new chair.
And I'm sorry, and I'm the chair. I guess that's why I'm talking first, because I got elected chair. Thank you, Alex. Sunny?
Sure. My name's Sunny Spina. I'm one of the city councilors here. So I sit on this committee as part of my role on council.
Hi, I'm Angela Hornblower. I work with community services, and I'm here to take minutes.
And I'm Lee Shoya, and I work at the funeral home at Arthur.
Salvatore Marchese, and I'm a planner here at the city and just a staff resource for this committee.
And Dan, I'll let you just jump in.
Sure. I'm Dan Moody. I'm a project manager at Tulloch Engineering here in Sault Ste. Marie. And I've been invited to this meeting today to speak on the proposed rehabilitation work at the Memorial Tower.
Thanks, Dan. Vanessa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here today. I was in Colombia during the last meeting, so sorry, not sorry. I'm an award-winning author from the Sioux podcaster, and I run an international nonprofit, the Being Human Foundation, which I also founded. So very excited to be here to participate and contribute to community.
Sarah, you're up next on the screen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I am someone who's worked in heritage, volunteering in heritage for over a decade in several different municipalities. And I currently work as a project manager at a local post-secondary institution. Happy to be part of the crew this year.
Alex, you're next.
Hi, everyone. My name's Alex White. I'm a teacher at the Algoma District School Board. And it's just going around the round table. It's really nice to hear all of the talent that we're bringing to the Heritage Committee this year. So I'm really excited. I guess when Jamie's not here, I am the vice chair. So I will be there to guide. And thank you so much. Good to meet everybody.
Hannah, do you want to unmute?
Oh, yeah. So I guess that leaves me. My name's Hannah, and I work at the Sault Ste. Marie Museum, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. We'll start with the land acknowledge. Do you want me to read it? Yeah, okay. I acknowledge with respect that we are in the Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Wallaching. The Wallaching is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewan First Nation, and Historic Sault Ste. Marie BP Council. Okay. The first item number 2 on the agenda is approval of the minutes. You want to talk about it? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I can do that. So we need to approve the minutes, and it will have people making this motion will have to have been present at the last meeting. Just as a so Sarah, is your hand up? Thank you. If you're moving that. And do we have a seconder? So we have Sunny can go ahead and read. Thank you. Sarah. All in favor? And everybody online is in favor? Does anyone object? Might be an easier question. So that motion carries. We're going to adopt the agenda next. Oh no, I'm sorry. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Does any member have gone through the agenda? Do you have a pecuniary interest? Okay, thank you. We're going to adopt the agenda, and Virginia has asked that we do 7.1 first in order to then he doesn't have to sit through the entire meeting. But that doesn't involve change to the agenda, just changes the order. Does anyone have anything to add to the agenda? At the table, no? Okay, so we need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Please.
Lisa, sorry. And the second, Sunny again. Thank you. All in favor? We have hands up, perfect. Motion carried. And then instead of going to number 5, business arising, Virginia, should we go to 7.1?
Yeah, so I'll just introduce Dan. So for 7.1 is the Memorial Tower rehabilitation. So back last year in the fall, council approved funding to do the necessary rehabilitation. It required some work that was emergency work that involved chipping away some of the concrete at the top that was coming loose, which we were concerned could be a safety hazard. That work's been done, and Tulloch Engineering has been working on various projects with Memorial Tower for how many years now, Dan? It's been quite a few.
Going back almost 10, I would suggest, yes.
Yeah, so they have prepared a request for proposals, so this is all the drawings. This will be going out for tender to have all of the rest of the remediation work completed. And I'm gonna turn it over to Dan to walk us through, and there is an option for us to consider with regards to the glass block. And thanks, Dan, for being able to attend and share your expertise with the committee.
It's my pleasure to be here. Was any portion of that package circulated to the committee?
They have the entire set of drawings.
Okay.
And I've also pulled up some more detailed photographs from our previous report that you have completed that I can share with the members of the committee that are on Zoom today. The members here have did hard copies, but I'll pull that up when we get to the time when we can zoom in on the actual glass blocks.
Super. So that means that everyone should have at least a basic understanding. If you've had an opportunity to review the package, the intent behind our design effort has been to preserve and clearly respect the configuration, the aesthetics of the Memorial Tower. The intent was not to undertake any sort of a change to the appearance. So I think that's an important fundamental of design for everyone to be aware of. The tower, being of mass concrete design, has undergone decades upon decades of deterioration due to weather. Approximately 8 to 10 years ago, the upper portion of the tower, the glass light enclosure, was reconstructed. And so that is really not part of this current proposed work at all. Our scope of work extends from the base of that glass light enclosure all the way down to the ground. And essentially involves removing more concrete. We undertook emergency work only in the fall. That does not suggest that all of the bad concrete was removed, just anything that was at risk of causing injury. But the worst area on this tower is localized around the top, where the water would sit and freeze thaw action. So this design that's going to go out for tender would involve removal of some concrete that is beyond the point of repair. But what will be put back in its place will mimic the original in exacting detail. So when we're done with this project, other than it having a clean coat of paint, and we're going to put something on that's a little bit better than paint, a coating that should reduce not only costs but efforts on the tower. Right now, there was some sort of a paint coating put on just in an effort to help with the aesthetics. There's some bleeding of efflorescence or salt coming out of the tower, as well as rust staining. So several paint coatings have gone on in the last couple of years, and what we're proposing is something that's going to have a much better lifespan to it. Higher upfront cost, but hopefully over time that should balance out. So for the most part, it's mass concrete repairs, nothing out of the ordinary. The coating, again, is going to allow the concrete to breathe. We have a unique structure in that it's not conditioned on the inside, but there are interior finishes. There's display boards on the interior of the tower. So we want to do whatever we can to maintain a climatic condition that's conducive to preserving those materials. We don't want to trap moisture, so the coating will be breathable. This committee or whatever stakeholder group you deem to be appropriate will have some input into the color that we select. If the current gray that's there is considered to be appropriate, then we'll just have the contractor match that color in exacting detail.
Sorry, just to jump in on that point, Dan, for the committee, because we do have new members, we were very fortunate to have some architects on our committee previously, so David Ellis was one of the architects, and they actually went out and provided the exact match paint colors a number of years ago. When we went through that first process to paint it, so I have all of those paint codes available that I can give you, and they've all been pre-approved and are consistent with what we've had in the past.
Perfect.
So how long will that coat last compared to a coat of paint?
That is a great question, and at this point, no, it's quite valid. I would honestly have to defer an answer to that and get some commentary from the product manufacturer. What we've proposed is one of two coatings. One of them is known as a Dryvit, DRYVIT, and the other one is a product manufactured by Sika. Both of them are BASF and Sika. Both are very well-known worldwide coating companies. Dryvit, the best example I could give you of Dryvit is if anybody has ever seen what they call EIFS, EIFS. Newer commercial buildings that are coated with stucco, you'll see the building receive a coat of insulation, and then they sand the insulation smooth, and they effectively put stucco on top of that. To be very clear, we are not proposing to put an EIFS system on the building. We are not proposing to insulate the building, but instead to take the outer coating and apply that in place of paint. Right now, I don't have the exact details on the paint that's being used, but it's essentially a latex house or concrete paint. It does not have good adhesion properties, good staying power. Again, I don't think it was ever intended to be a lifelong coating. And concrete coatings in general do require routine maintenance. That's simply the nature of them. This building is not temperature controlled. You have condensation that wants to build up on the interior in the summertime, and on the exterior, it's attacked by all of the elements. So I will certainly provide some comment back to this committee, hopefully in the coming days, in terms of what we could expect for this added cost, what we could expect for a return on that investment. And that's a great question that I should have been more prepared for, to hopefully allow this committee to provide commentary and municipal officials as well. That's good value for money. If we can put 5 or 6 coatings of paint on it for the same price as the Dryvit, then that might factor in. My motivation behind looking for this upgraded coating quality was that as I've monitored the tower, the staining and chipping and flaking starts to detract from the product. So beyond the coating, there's really not a lot of elements that have presented themselves as items requiring input or discussion, because we've been able to take off and replace with something that's a very good match. The block on the tower, there are 3 portions or 3 faces of the tower that have glass block. And that's an original feature of design. It's a row of block, 3 blocks wide, and of varying heights depending on which elevation you're looking at. Now, the challenge with these glass blocks is several things. One, they are very heavily stained. So they have developed a patina, if you will. They are not indicative of a brand new glass block from the store. Most of them are brown, if not yellow, in color. I've got a larger photo if you want me to share that, Virginia.
Is that one there?
You can go ahead and put photo 33. If you can zoom in on 33 at all, that might help.
Sorry. You got 4. Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm looking at this one here. I'll try zooming in.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying to.
There you
the-
are.
There we go.
Okay.
Got it.
So there's approximately 21 blocks on the tower that are missing, cracked, broken, any number of things that mean we need to source that equivalent plus some spare for replacement. So the challenge is this, finding an exact match for the block has proven difficult. Earlier this week, I did reach out to a new source in Toronto for glass block, new to me at least, and they were quite accommodating in their response. And I can show this committee what they've sent. They've sourced a block that is a fairly good match for as far as the patterning goes. My concern is that they're not going to be a good visual match necessarily, because the patina or the staining that the original block have, the new block will not resemble that at all. The new block is going to be very much crystal clear glass. So I am not a designer, an interior designer, and I don't profess to be one, but from past experiences, when we're trying to introduce new materials up against existing, you can have one of two approaches. You can put your best foot forward and try to match them, and you're either very successful with that or you fail miserably, or you find a way to contrast. Not so much to emphasize, but if you're going to introduce a new material, you do it in a strategic way that maybe is less visually obvious. Or option 3 that I can review is we find ways to eliminate that need altogether. And I realize that my proposition to eliminate that may be a little bit more controversial. We can either source the required block and direct the contractors to install them in a certain location. We could pick one of the 3 elevations in which the block is present and find out which one is the least visible to the general public and focus those 21 new block on that face. But when you look up at the tower, unless the contractor is very successful in cleaning these block, which I'm not convinced that will happen, I think that the staining or the inherent glass color is going to not permit these new block to blend in all that well. But all 21 new block would effectively be clustered together on a relatively unnoticeable side of the tower. The other option to consider would be to effectively reduce the size of the rough openings. So again, with these blocks are approximately 8 inches by 8 inches. So from an area perspective, that would be a row 3 wide, 7 to 8 blocks high, depending on how we go about doing this. If we were to shrink the size of the rough opening and split that difference amongst the 3 faces with concrete, so basically infill the base of the rough opening, reduce it effectively so that the block that we do have, once they're removed and cleaned and reinstalled, we're basically taking that same quantity of block and installing it back into a smaller rough opening, effectively eliminating the need to buy more block. Respectfully, I do understand that that is suggesting a dimensional change to a feature of the tower. But in doing so, what it would, the end result would be glass block that do very much look original. So it's photo 21 that's on that sheet that Virginia's sharing right now would be a great example. Those blocks go basically down to grade. And if we were to entertain the notion of reducing the rough opening size, we'd effectively infill with concrete at the base, perhaps the equivalent of 3 blocks high. Virginia, do you think I'm explaining that well, or should I try to grab control of the screen?
Yeah, because I think it would be filling in this little section here potentially.
That's it.
The equivalent of 31 blocks.
Yeah.
Or 21 blocks.
21 blocks. So we could pick one opening and do a larger infill on one opening. I don't think that's necessarily advisable, but if we divided it equally amongst the 3 openings, it would be less obvious. And given the work that we're doing, we will have the concrete crew on site and the brand new coating. That'll be a great opportunity to blend in the old concrete with the new and make that infill less obvious.
Dan, I think Sunny has a question.
I had a couple questions, yeah.
Sure.
Unless he's still got more to.
No, I feel free.
Okay, I got a couple of questions. Hi, Dan, sorry, my name's Sunny. A couple of questions. I'm gonna go to I'm gonna talk about the blocks last. Couple of quick things I had. Are you familiar with the, I'm sure you're familiar with the water tower? And recently, a couple of years ago, they did their kind of resurfacing of the tower.
Yes.
I had a very extensive conversation with JJ about that. It was not rust on the tower, it was pollution, obviously, in my opinion, from the steel plant. Once it was power washed off, it actually looked a lot better, and he still painted it, but you know, is what it is. Given this tower's proximity to the steel plant, I anticipate seeing that happening on this tower again and continuously. So, and maybe this is for Virginia and you together. One, is there a yearly maintenance budget? So we're not looking at this and going, oh my God, it became an eyesore over the last 4 years. And two, I think we talked about how long or the life expectancy of this product. Would that be extended by a yearly maintenance budget? Something to keep it clean and blast the stuff off that is deteriorating the building.
Great question. Virginia, I'll leave that one to you to comment on budgeting for yearly maintenance. I am 100% a proponent of yearly, or let's just say routine
Right.
maintenance, inspection, and cleaning. I have that discussion with most clients when it comes to roofing, flat roofing. Unfortunately, most property owners put a brand new roof on at a significant cost, and it never sees an ounce of maintenance until the day that it leaks.
Right.
Whereas the installers will suggest that routine maintenance and cleaning will extend it. It deals with small blemishes or deficiencies while they're small rather than allowing them to grow. So I do agree that regardless of the type of coating, some sort of a power washing plan would be ideal. And as with any product that we source for installation, there will be a specification for a certain quantity of reserve coating, 5 gallons perhaps, to be kept somewhere on site at the GFL that will allow for some sort of routine patching as blemishes might occur.
And from the budget standpoint, we've had received previous capital money that was utilized to do the painting and those aspects of it. It would fall under probably just the GFL maintenance items because it's part and parcel
Right.
with that large.
So we don't have, we
site.
haven't, perhaps have a budget, but perhaps not a plan.
It would just be under their maintenance budget, so additional regular maintenance of this may not be necessarily accommodated within their operating.
Right,
So depending on the cost and the extent, just because you end up with lifts and
right,
all of that, it may or may not require
something. So that might be
Yeah.
my job to bring forward.
potentially,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
we'll find out more once we
Okay,
get that. We did look at the dry. Those products previously, we held off utilizing them because we knew we had major repairs coming.
Right,
So we were waiting for all of these major repairs to be done before we invested in a
So
higher
why-
quality.
why do maintenance when you're gonna
Yeah.
fix it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so but we can definitely, that's something I could speak to Jason about,
Yeah.
because our operation takes care of the operations.
Yeah.
And find out what he anticipates annual maintenance would cost on the site.
I'd rather see us every spring go up and clean it
Mhm.
than have to wait and do this every 2 years. The other, just a couple of quick questions now on the top part. You mentioned, and I've seen it in the photos, you mentioned still or standing water is the culprit for a lot of this deterioration up there. What I don't see in any of the plans is a plan to add any kind of drainage to get rid of that or deal with that water or divert it away.
There are scuppers on the roof that are being replaced.
Oh, it's a failure of a product that's already there.
So there's been a few iterations of roofing on that. I don't know that there probably is a photo in that package somewhere, Virginia, but effectively the space that's left between that ring that's heavily cracked and the octagonal interior feature is flat roofed.
Right.
And recently, just to stop some leaks, there was a short-term rolled roofing product installed over top. But beneath that is a built-up roofing membrane with limited slope on it. So water does get on there and it essentially retains water until the level builds up to the point where it hits the scupper elevation and then exits. So with this new flat roofing product, we'll I may not have spoken to it in the design quite yet. We'll just ensure that the base substrate or some insulation will be introduced to eliminate the high points, or I should say the low points, and then direct any of that water towards a scupper.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That was a huge concern I had. And last, I guess I'll talk about these glass pieces last. I recognize and realize we're talking about 21, 22 pieces within the budget allocated for this project. My worry is that in a year, we're going to come back and say there's more glass pieces broken that need to be replaced. We have an opportunity now to replace them and not change the aesthetics of the building and restore its original luster by putting the glass pieces in and just replacing them all. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, sorry. So not to try to reuse existing, but instead go with brand new.
Right, because the other ones are gonna suffer the same fate. I mean, the tower is old. It hasn't been incredibly maintained over the years. It's been maintained, but not to a level that I think anyone here would want to see. We'd want to see a greater level. I don't want to be back here in a year saying, geez, I wish we would have done this when we had the opportunity and put it all together and fixed it completely so it would last, you know, another 100 years. But at this point in time, I think we have the opportunity, at least to say, is restore the original luster of the building and mitigate any future risks that we're going to see. If they start failing en masse in the next year or two, we're going to see moisture penetrate that interior where we know there are those things that we want to climate control, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, that's not really an option that had been considered, with the focus being on preserve original as much as possible. It's absolutely an option. These block are not terribly expensive. I was
Right.
pleasantly surprised to see they're about $20 a block. So if the committee were to be in agreement with the aesthetic, there's a minimal aesthetic difference from what's there right now to what they'd be replaced with, and I can show you that difference in a second. But we certainly could just take all these block out, retain them if the city wants them for some other use, but simply put brand new in.
And if I think you said you had your reservations about the company being able to restore the blocks, like if they are able to be restored and reused, absolutely, I think we'd want to see that first and foremost. But I tend to agree with you. I think as they start to handle these products to attempt to restore them, they're probably going to break more.
That is definitely a possibility. We won't know. We know what we can see now, how many are broken, how long that process took to get to 21. It's tough to say. If we were looking at more superficial repairs, we probably wouldn't be recommending full removal and reinstallation. We might try to preserve them in place. That's a little bit too risky given the extent of the work here. So the only safe approach is pull them off, clean them, and fresh install. So if we're going to go to, the labor cost at that point is a wash, because the same amount of labor to reinstall what's there as compared to installing brand new. So the difference would be X number of blocks times $20 a block.
It's insignificant in the grand scheme of this budget.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's a million projects we could do with those blocks to, utilize them, but I mean, entirely up to the committee here. It's just I didn't see it in the report, so I want to make sure that option is on the table for us too.
Dan, is there an option for us to get a sample of what that block looks like from the company that you sourced?
Yeah, and I had already thought about that, and I should probably just go ahead and have them order or have them send one again. It's $20. I could have that order placed this week and have it on site for us to physically look at. As long as they don't have any issues shipping just one block. So it really, if we gave ourselves even a week, 2 weeks to look at that, I don't think it's going to delay tendering all that much.
If we could, Sunny was just asking, if we could maybe look at ordering, if they're, $20 a piece, whatever, that's fine. I can cover that in our budget. If we could look at ordering a group of them so that we could stack them together to get a better visual of what they look like together. And then the other piece I want to confirm is just ensuring that if we do go down this route, that we're gonna be able to maintain the 3 across, that the dimensions are equitable so that we can continue with the exact same pattern that we have now.
So those blocks are measuring approximately 7.5 inches square, and that's an exact match with what they're proposing.
The other option for the committee too, 'cause sometimes it's hard when you're just looking at pictures, we could arrange a site visit. With the blocks so that the committee members can come out to site, take a look at the space and actually then. It just helps you give you a better visual when pictures aren't always necessarily as true as what you see when you're on site, so.
I would like a site visit. I have, 2 questions. You won't believe what I'm going to ask, and then I'll open it up to other members. So why is the glass breaking? Is it vandalism or is it environment or age? Or
Both of it.
competition?
I think the short answer is it is likely some combination of all of those elements. With the patina that's active on the block or that's present, it's really difficult to look at these cracks and determine new or old. We might, and we likely are looking at some of these blocks that were damaged decades ago. Typically when we see something that's a fresh break, you can look at it, the edges are clean cut. Sometimes it'll expose an unstained facet of the block, and you can look at concrete and you can look at glass and a lot of materials and say, that was a very recent act of vandalism. The reality of it is that this building being mass concrete, seasonal temperature fluctuations, freeze, thaw, thermal cycling, there's a lot of movement that's inherent with concrete. Concrete can be a big sponge. So just the freeze thaw action of wet concrete could be enough to contribute to some of these blocks breaking the way that they have. They're not, unlike a modern window in your home, you install them with fasteners, you seal around the perimeter with an expansive foam. If those materials do expand and contract, there's some degree of flexibility that would prevent breakage of the glass. These are glass blocks set in a hard mortar. There's sealant around the edge, but that doesn't take the place of the mortar. So there's really no opportunity for any forgiveness, unfortunately. So I think we can't eliminate the potential for future breakage. There's certainly nothing we can do from a vandalism perspective, but whatever option.
Actually, I was thinking that the street level blocks that you showed in one of those photos, I forget which one, I wondered if we eliminated the street level glass blocks, whether that would cut down on vandalism, but yeah. And do the blocks have to be glass, or could they be something less breakable, like plexiglass or something?
There's one face of the tower right now that has a sheet of plexiglass over it that may have been done from a vandalism perspective. I'm not sure what the reasoning was. I think that, again, the site tour might be a good example to see what it looks like. It's not very aesthetically pleasing to see that plexiglass there. Are there potentially options for more vandalism resistant blocks? I couldn't comment on that. It's not really something I've looked at to date.
So we have option 1 and 2 that is in your report, and option 3 that Sunny has proposed, replacing all the blocks. Was there a 4th option or not? No, okay.
Dan, can I just ask a question? So just timing wise, because the committee, usually these tenders are out for at least 3 weeks, and then there's a review process. It has to go to council, so from say that now until when that would get approved, we're looking at minimum 2 months, if not a little bit longer. So then this is weather sensitive, all of this work. Dan, is there an option when we go through our RFP process to have the proponents bid on option 1 and option 2 and potentially option 3? Just with regards to the glass block so that it gives the committee time to then make a recommendation, but it's not delaying our process.
Definitely. We can write the tender we have to pick one option as a base. Any other options can be presented as provisional. We can get pricing back for all of them, and then that gives you the flexibility to choose. Or we can pull all the options out deal with them through an allowance at a later date. You know, in the grand scheme, is the block a significant portion of this project budget? No, the concrete is between the concrete and the coating, that's 75+% of the project budget. So if the glass is the one item that we need to resolve, we definitely have options for that don't have to derail the project.
Does anyone else have any questions on this topic? I saw Alex's thumb up at the idea of replacing all the glass blocks, and I had that written down myself, so that, and if it's not a huge cost, that may be the way to go. We don't need a motion in Virginia, this is just an exception. I'm just,
You're looking at.
Sorry, and I am gonna get them, we'll
Okay.
end up probably having two motions.
okay,
So we'll have a base motion now, and then once we make a decision on the direction that we want to take the glass block after the site visit and the samples arrive, we'll have a secondary motion.
okay,
So
if you read the motion, we'll probably.
yeah, I'm changing it.
You're thinking and talking and writing at the same time.
Around here.
Okay, so resolve that the Municipal Heritage Committee approve the Memorial Tower rehabilitation plan prepared by Telek Engineering. And sorry. Staff will proceed with the tendering. And further that the Municipal Heritage Committee will make a recommendation on the direction for the glass block replacement. Is that good?
Good point.
Okay. So everyone's heard the motion. Could I ask someone to move it, please? And Hannah's hand is up and a secondary, Sunny.
Alex did send a message. He had to leave. So, yeah.
All in favor? Sorry. And anyone opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. I loved what all your drawings and your.
Excellent.
I can't wait. For the
Glad to
site.
hear it. So I'll proceed. I'll coordinate with you offline, Virginia. I'll coordinate to get some blocks ordered, sent this way, and then we'll coordinate with you through the committee. We're with the committee for a site review. And if there's any other comments you've got on the tender package or the drawing package, send it our way. I will have the tender package issued to you for administrative review, but we should be in a good position to let that tender go very soon.
Awesome.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you all. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go back to the agenda. We have business arising from the minutes, I think. And 5.1 is Heritage Week update. And can we hear about how the walking tour went?
Yeah, is that where we're right now?
Yeah, 5.1.
Walking tour is really good. Was actually a ton of fun. Reasonably well attended. We had 25 people that were there. Everybody enjoyed it. There's a lot of things I think we can build on. One in particular, there was one fellow that came, he was in a wheelchair and he had a great time,
Good.
which sparked my thought that we didn't advertise it as an accessible event.
Yeah.
And I have another very close friend of mine who's in a wheelchair, and he reached out and said, yeah, I was kind of interested, but I wasn't sure if it was accessible. And I said, "Son of a
Yeah,
bitch."
we missed that. You're
When
right.
he called to book it, he asked if it was, but I
Right.
gave him all the information that it was gonna be accessible.
Right, so we didn't kind of promote that. I wish we did, because, you know, a couple of people reached out, but the fellow who was in the wheelchair, he had a great time. He enjoyed it. For me, I loved it because a lot of the old buildings I've been in a past life myself, in a very different capacity at different times of day. And I was able to share a ton of personal stories about, yeah, here's the history of the building. Let me tell you about this time I was here.
Oh,
So it was really kind of a cool touch to be able to add that. Really great group, like really quite engaging. It was supposed to be an hour. We were probably an hour 40, maybe something like that. We got a lot of luck on our side for the day. I'll say beautiful day, no wind, wasn't cold, it was quite warm, it wasn't wet, it was, rather, so ton of luck, which is what I think had a huge contribution to the positive outcome. People left asking for more things like that. And in particular, asking for, can we do it in the summer or the spring when it's a little nicer? And can we expand the scope of this? So this stroll down Queen, as we call it, was absolutely perfect. I think everything was great. There's a whole other area that we can do. There's that whole canal district. There's the locks and all that. And I recognize and realize Parks Canada would have to be involved, and all of those other agencies would have to collaborate with them. I don't think they would care. I think there's a great opportunity as well to collaborate with Batchewana and take everyone over to Whitefish Island and talk about the history there. We touched on these things in that walking tour, and it would be really great to bring that back full circle and say, hey, you want to learn more about that? Next week, we're going to go and travel the locks and Whitefish Island and XYZ. So come on back and we're going to learn more about that. Just a huge opportunity for expansion. What? Sorry.
That gives me an idea.
Sure.
The James Walk in Maine. We could do a James Walk.
There you go.
That's it.
Perfect. Yeah, it's we had a lot of folks who were just really interested in more. It's not often that everyone gets to be a tourist in their own city, but they really did enjoy that, and hearing the history of a lot of places. One of the most important buildings, I think, being what is now Missinaibi Cree First Nation, but was the law office of Sir William Hearst, and hearing that story and being able to tell every woman in the group, hey, he was the one that helped you get the right to vote. Everybody kind of went, oh my God. And it was a lot of a lot of peacocking there, like, I'm from the Sioux and this guy is what did this, and that's me, that's that's my premier kind of thing, right? So it was really great to be able to share those stories. People really enjoyed it. There was a couple of places that had on their windows some old historic photos of their building and then a picture of what they look like now. And it was very random. It was just kind of out there, and we walked by and said, hey, that's neat, and we'd stop, and one of them was near where the old Foch Cleaners is. And we just kind of stopped and had some, checked it out while it was there, which made an idea that, hey, wait a minute, before this walk, maybe we can get a hold of all of these buildings and say, hey, if you've got a history, why don't you just put it in your window? And as we walk by, we'll take a second and share it. Ian Ganton over at the Ermitinger site was great. He did a great job helping us walk through the site and point out things that, I didn't know, or a history that I didn't know. He was really good. And it would be great to have somebody, say at Precious Blood, jump out and show us, or something like that. So if we can coordinate and collaborate with some of those other areas where we're visiting, I realize not all of them are going to. The folks at Superior Health aren't going to know that used to be City Hall and a library and a fire station. They're not going to know that, so they're not going to come out and share the history. But I'm sure that the Catholic Church would know the history there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can think of two people that would leave that tour,
Right.
Benny Greco and Joanne Dumez.
There you go. So
because they did the Doors Open event
perfect.
a couple years ago at that site.
So there'd be ways to enhance it. And we did miss, when we were at Ermitinger, we missed going to the blockhouse because it was just snowed in. No other reason that it was snowed in. Everybody wanted that. They really wanted to check it out. So that's why it came up that, hey, if there's a thing in the spring, summer, we'd love to do this again. And actually see these
So
things.
the James Walk is the first weekend in May, first Saturday in May, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, maybe we could, Alex isn't online. I hate to volunteer Alex, so he's not online, he'll kill me, but maybe we can discuss that offline.
Sure. Yeah.
Doing a James Walk.
And Virginia and I talked quickly about doing the same thing, but as a bike tour.
Oh.
I talked with the cycling club about doing it. They thought this winter was maybe a little too hasty for them to be able to coordinate with the members, but they certainly thought that a spring summer historical bike tour with a couple of strategic stops for what they would refer to as energy drinks or a beer. They thought that would be a really cool thing. So very easy to collaborate with them. If anyone's interested, we can certainly plan that. And there's our ability to plan this larger scope, right?
Yeah.
To go around a larger area of the city.
So I'm gonna make a note about James. I better write it down. Because I'll forget.
If you need any assistance getting in touch with the James Walk organizer for anything, the planning association, is a supporter of that event. So
Oh, good. I think we should, that's the
Sure.
first.
The city did a great job helping us promote it. Tessa and the team did a great job helping us, which
Oh,
was
good.
fantastic. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I saw
Lots of
lots of,
support.
I saw you online,
Yeah.
poster boys,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
took a picture, they were.
Oh, did they? Oh, yeah, they took a picture from, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
And we did a video and stuff and everybody kind of enjoyed it.
oh, good.
I mean, that might be the next stage is a live stream while you're doing the event, right? Where people can chime in and those who couldn't get out to it can chime in and ask questions.
Oh, that's another idea. Oh, wow, live streaming. Okay.
Promotional video was very well done.
Yeah,
Got
Tessa
lot
did a
of
great job.
response. It was catchy, got interest.
Yeah,
She
okay.
did a great job.
So just on Heritage Week, I did a talk at Urban Senior Park on heritage buildings. The Kathy Fisher, the Friday by the Fires here, and the posters, I saw them up at the library, so they got put up. And what else was going on during Heritage Week? That's a lot, just by
Yeah,
itself.
I think it was just, we had the displays of both libraries, Kathy's Friday by the Fire.
Yeah,
Walking
the walk.
tour.
That's excellent.
That was good.
Well done, thank you.
It was a
so
lot of fun.
much.
It was a ton of fun. I've actually kept from the app, from the On the Spot app, I kept all of the printouts of all the history at my restaurant behind the bar. So when people come in and start talking about, hey, you guys work downtown? Yeah, we work downtown. We're just coming for lunch. Where do you work? And they'll tell me. I say, listen, you want to hear the history of that building?
Oh.
And I'll give them a whole. It's so I just kind of keep it there so I can show them old photos. I can give them a history. So it's actually worked very well. And then I kind of just say, you want to learn more? Look for Heritage Week and oh, really? So it's actually been pretty cool.
I found a couple old brochures at the library that I shared with Sunny and Alex that were old walking tours that had been done in the 1980s. So 5.2 is the museum bell.
Yes, for sure. So Hannah and I have been working on a couple things. Hannah, do you want to start? Because your portion is.
I mean, yeah, I can start.
Okay.
So I know that in the last meeting, we kind of touched on sort of just an overview of like whether the expected budget was still the same from the last committee or the last iteration of the committee as to now. And according to the museum, the budget is still the same. So whatever report that you had, those numbers transfer over. In regard to having drawings done up for the covering of the bell. I have a meeting later this week with a draftsperson who is I'm going to speak to about doing up a plan for that pro bono. And I know that Lisa's been working on some things as well. If you want to take that.
Okay, so I was able to speak to Sioux College and Mark Pignon from Sioux College. He's the coordinator for the construction program, and he's all excited about it as well. But I don't want to get my hopes too high and then crush down to. So in the next 2 weeks, he will be choosing who will be the teacher for September. So and then from there, he'll be able to tell me, he's going to ask the teacher that he selects if the teacher is interested in following through with this project, but he is anyways. And if so in 2 weeks, I'd be able to say if we would be able to continue with that. I don't know if you guys are okay that we're waiting that long, meaning that the project wouldn't start until probably September. And he had mentioned, depending on the strength of their students, it could take a month and a half for the project to be done. And everything would be done at their shop, and then it would be a matter of having a trailer carry the project over to the museum and installing it. So if we're okay to wait and see what Sioux College can do for us. It's up to you guys, unless you've got somebody else in mind that's willing to do something at no charge, but it's just a matter of waiting to see if that teacher will be as excited as the program coordinator. Then I guess the restoration could start maybe in the summer and then have.
I think it's the funding source for the restoration.
Okay,
We don't have a
okay.
funding source.
Okay,
So that's part of the problem, is trying to find a source in order to pay for the restoration.
Of the bell.
Hannah, did you find out if the bell is part of the collection? Is it archived or is it not?
It is city property.
Okay, so it's not archived in the collection then, eh?
That's correct.
Okay.
Which means,
If it was archived as part of the collection, there was a grant fund that I could apply to, but since it's not part of the collection and archived, then that will be an avenue to try to secure funding.
okay,
So the first study for your background, we would have to go to council and ask for 8 to 10,000 as part of the budget process. To request funds to have the bell restored. To have
And
the,
then protect it.
and then whatever the costs are for the materials to protect it, so you're looking at a $10,000 budget request.
For next year or this year,
It would have to be for next year.
unless we have a line item we can pull from. Which I think we do.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you remember the line item we were gonna pull from? Sorry, guys,
Sorry.
you may not understand
Sally and
everything.
we can
You may
have
not
a-
understand everything we're talking about here. Remember the line item we were gonna pull from for the bike lockers? That didn't get pulled? There's 10,000.
That was environmental.
Oh, yeah, but we were gonna reallocate it.
No,
Because
it was, I don't know if there was another conversation.
There was a line
But
item,
the
yeah,
request came out of the environmental grant funding was where the bike locker funding was coming from.
there was another 10,000. From a line item that was, I'm gonna be wrong, a conference or something that no longer exists, but the line item was budgeted there and stuck there, so we were able to
I
reallocate it.
don't know, I missed that council meeting.
Yeah, let me
It's in
find it.
Florida.
I'll find it, so there might be, let me find out, there might be,
Okay,
I'll
when you're saying next year, you're not talking of September 2025, you're talking.
We,
2026.
so we submit all of our budget requests to council in August. We send them to well, actually before that.
right,
So in July, we start sending our requests for 2026
Okay,
to council. So that would come out of, so if it went in as a capital request, so like this year, the capital requests that we put in for the museum were for the window restoration. Because we need to get the next phase on, so
Yes.
the city allocated 100,000 in funding for the next phase of the window restoration, so it would have to be part of those submissions and requests. The council has to deliberate.
and I realize we're not a fundraising. Board.
No.
Would, if, and I don't even think I'm just playing it in my head, I don't even think it would be appropriate for the museum to undertake a fundraising to restore it, because it's not their, it's city property.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to find, if
Yeah.
it was archived or not.
Right,
That's
and if
what
it
we
was
could
different
apply for
story,
that
yeah.
grant Fund, yeah,
So it's not like they can.
so it's not
Yeah,
archived as an
hey, donate
artifact.
today to restore the bell because it's city property, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then we have to have council approval to undertake fundraising.
Right. Jeez. We make it hard.
okay, thank you, you're done.
yes.
Okay, just thought I checked. The next item is the subcommittee updates, and the first one is the heritage booklet subcommittee.
Yes, so actually, we've got a few meetings coming up. So the Heritage Booklet Video Tour Committee is meeting March 18th. I gotta keep them all straight at noon. So right now, we've been working with our IT department to get the InDesign software installed it's installed at our senior center right now. We're just trying to get it on a computer at City Hall so that it's a little bit easier to access, not having to go to the senior center. So that we can make the edits. So we're, I think, in the final stages of getting that set up on one of the computers. And then Josh Ingram, who is the supervisor of the Downtown Plaza, he has a graphic design background. He's going to be helping.
To do it,
gonna help with-
no,
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, so we just gotta get that software
Oh,
on his
Josh and I
computer and then
can
we
do
can
that.
proceed with
Okay,
that one.
okay. And we have a doors open committee meeting on the 9th.
There's a lot.
I just got it this morning, so.
Yeah, that meeting is, so.
The
first
20th.
meeting Of the,
Maybe,
is, doors open is the 20th.
the
Of
20th,
March.
okay.
At noon, so that'll be the next meeting of that group to start planning. Doors
Okay.
open, but one of the things I wanted to get a sense from everybody on the committee is kind of timing. Right now, if you go to the Ontario Heritage or Community Heritage Ontario website, they already have our picture up that we're gonna be hosting a Doors Open. But we are in the to be determined group along with some other municipalities who haven't finalized a time frame. The events are taking place anywhere from June until the fall, but personally, I was thinking just from a timing standpoint, that we look towards sometime in the fall, just to allow us enough time to plan everything. June is very, very heavy with back-to-back events all month that our staff in recreation and culture are involved with. And in the summertime, you kind of hit a bit of a lull, so not sure thoughts on the first part of October. We already have a very heavy later in September with the Vivid Art Fest, some other community events, the kickoff of Culture Days. But then it would also fall into the month-long Culture Days event timeframe. But just wanted to see what the committee thought, and then from there, the subcommittee can start working on planning some of the details.
The last time we did it, was it on a Friday during a Truth and Reconciliation weekend?
It was
2 years ago?
It was in, I think it wasn't the same day, it was leading it, it was in that end of
It
September.
unfortunately conflicted with something that was going on in the community that revolved around truth and reconciliation, and that became an issue, but, so we're looking at one day. And we want to launch the booklet at the same time, so we need time to do the booklet. I think we did it was October 1st last time, wasn't it?
It was in the fall.
Yeah. And I would want to, you know, I do think we can tie it in with Culture Days. I'm getting all kinds of ideas from what Sonny said about how we can augment the Doors Open experience with some of his ideas. Does anyone have a strong opinion about whether September or October is the preferred date?
I think you're right, Virginia, September's packed. October
Yeah.
feels right.
Just try to avoid a major
Yeah, it would be
September 30th date, because last time that was probably.
October 4th is a Saturday. And then the following weekend, we get into Thanksgiving, which I think
Oh,
we want to
right.
stay clear up. And then we start to push later in October, so. Anybody else have any thoughts on October 4th as the potential date?
No thought. Well, it seems so far
like-
away, doesn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
but we did
it'll
it
come up
October
fast.
1st last time. I remember that date because
Yeah.
there's a lot going on. Okay. The Saturday before that would be, I think, probably the Truth and Reconciliation Saturday.
It would be the 27th. Culture Days kicks off on the 26th, so that could be another option, and then we can see what is scheduled and planned.
Okay,
Sure.
sure, good idea.
Okay,
We'll leave it with you. But we want it on a Saturday. right?
Yeah.
Okay.
with it being that far out, we
And just
still have
one
some
day.
time to
Yeah, just
solidify
one
it.
day, not 2 days. Okay, good. Good, the quick decision.
Heritage trees.
Heritage trees.
We have a meeting on April 1st, and at that point, we'll be starting to, yeah, so Sarah just thinks this is better. On April 1st, so we're gonna start looking at scoring the trees, and then once the snow's gone, we can start taking measurements. So we're actually right now, we're in the process of prepping all the scoring sheets and filling in each of those scoring sheets with the information that we have to date. And then we can finalize it from there as we start to go through the full assessment and then some of the historical research that will need to happen with each of the trees. And they do have to meet, so right now the committee has 11. They do have to meet 2 criteria in order to be considered, so not just age, it has to have some cultural significance or historical significance in addition to the age of the tree. And for a new member's perspective, there are only 21 trees that were designated in Ontario.
Oh, wow.
So there's not a lot of trees that meet that criteria, so, you know, we won't be designating all 11. But, you know, again, it'll depend on how they score and where they come up with what those recommendations are.
So Vanessa, I don't want to put you on the spot, but at the last meeting, we invited new members to join subcommittees. And if there's any subcommittee that you're interested in jumping on, you're welcome to join. The Heritage booklet, we're updating a booklet that was published 25 years ago during the millennium. And then the Doors Open thing is a day where different buildings around town are gonna be open to the public for free. And then, of course, the heritage trees. So we've done these subcommittees. We have done 7.1. 7.2 is the community culture plan.
Yep, I think.
Can I ask one question
Oh,
about
I'm
heritage,
sorry, please.
just about heritage trees, just so I understand? If we designate a tree as a heritage tree, what happens if, God forbid, the tree has to come down?
There's, if there's safety issues, if it's dying.
Right,
There are, those things are taken into consideration when it comes for trees, so you're assessing, is it on an easement, is it on
right.
private property who owns the land, so if there is an issue. And it's no longer safe for public safety, they can come down, that's one of the challenges with them.
Okay.
What it does do is it would protect the trees, like, if there's road work, they'd have to figure out how they work around it.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
we're like, if it's in the
But-
middle of Bellevue Park, no big deal, that
Yeah.
tree's gonna stand forever. But if it's somewhere where we're gonna build an apartment building or something, we've got issues, right? And I don't mean we would tear it down because we're gonna build a building, like you said, if there's road work, we're gonna go around, but if it's dying or causing damage by roots creeping into sewer systems, there is a process. I don't need to know what.
Process that's like,
Okay.
yeah,
Long as
yeah,
I-
and I can get you some more.
As long as I know it exists, I'd just be worried about designating a tree and then coming back and, sorry, you can't touch it, so you can't fix whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a purple slide in this package called goal number 6. Virginia, did you want to talk about this? Did you want to talk about it?
It's okay.
I attended, Sarah and I actually attended a meeting on Wednesday. That was the community forum, culture forum?
Correct.
Okay, and it was, Alicia Moore presented the deck of slides, and this is one of them. And I just thought for information purposes, it really struck me how much was going on, like when I was looking at this second sheet was in the lobby. And there's a couple things there that, you know, it's surprising how much the work this committee actually does. When you look at it, the heritage booklet is on there, the Doors Open got on there, the On the Spot project, the heritage walk. And the heritage traffic routes, which I haven't heard that discussed, so that will probably be a new committee. But I just thought this committee would be interested in knowing about the cultural forum. It's going, hopefully, Sarah, it's going to be an ongoing conversation. Did you have any takeaways from that meeting, Sarah?
No, I just wanted to say that it was, I mean, obviously it's just the first sort of consultation in this specific process. So I do expect that there will be additional opportunity for feedback. Alicia had mentioned that during her presentation, but it was nice to see so many people just from the perspective of how many folks attended. Thunder Bay doesn't often get that kind of turnout. So it's just really nice to see the Sault Ste. Marie folks really involved in the culture and arts scene here in the Sault. So, I mean, I'm sure that different consultation pieces are attended. You know, there's always surveys that Thunder Bay uses as well that collects a lot of data. But just to see so many people show up at the Clerg was really nice.
Yeah, it was interesting. Josh Ingram was there, and I didn't, you know, and the couple of theater people I recognized, the Sioux Theater Workshop and the Musical Comedy Guild. So it was, we're inviting Alicia Moore to the library board at the end of April to present to the library board. So I think it's a golden opportunity to update the strategic plan from 4 or 5 years ago and do take it forward for the next 4 years. So I enjoyed that meeting.
And just for the rest of the committee's information, the community culture plan is on the city's website. Heritage is one of 6 goals of our plan. So we will be this year doing a series of consultations, so including, you know, surveys to the general public. Alicia's will be meeting with different organizations, hosting a couple more type forum activities. in addition to pop-ups. So Alicia's Sky Smith has I think a book opening, or there's another event happening. So Alicia's gonna be popping into different events and collecting feedback at those events throughout the year. And then we'll be compiling that information, but there will be specific consultation with the Municipal Heritage Committee, Historic Sites Board when it comes to the heritage components. So it is gonna be kind of a work in progress throughout the year with all the different events that we attend.
Yeah, I looked at the new website as well, so that was interesting. So that was 7.2 number. I'm looking at the clock. I was expecting to be kicked out of this room, but we're still here. Number 8 is correspondence. Did you have any?
No, it's a Heritage News, Field Heritage News, the newsletters are coming out. If you're not receiving them, let me know, Vanessa, I can have you added so we can talk about that offline. Hannah, I'm not sure if you've received any correspondence yet from the National Trust or Community Heritage Ontario.
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, I'll make sure that if you're good, I'll make sure you're both added to those email lists and you can get the information sent to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, feel free to contact me if you have any questions as well, new and old members. The next meeting is April 2nd at noon. In this room, probably, with any?
Yes.
Do we know Vicky?
I'm pretty sure we're in Biggings
Okay.
for up until June, so.
Okay, great. No one else has anything to add before we adjourn?
So, for the booklet, are we able, does it need to be just by Zoom or can we meet in person as well?
Both of them to both.
Sounds good. Okay, do we need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Oh, okay, may I have someone to make a motion to adjourn?
Like what?
Sunny looks, stand us up again, and a seconder from online. Thank you, Hannah. Hannah was the seconder. And it's all in favor that we adjourn, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Sorry, that was a long.
you.